Hey guys, this is Echo Sowers with another tutorial for ADSR and Sylenth If you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel and you want to stay up to date with all of our Sylenth tutorials, you can do that at youtube.com/ADSR tuts. That was a quick demo of the sound we'll be making today in Sylenth. Blue tracks are just the drums. These are 2 tracks of Sylenth, and this is the actual sound that we'll be making. And then I layered it with this sound, and this will make sense after the whole tutorial. All I did was change the wave from pulse waves to saw waves. And then I sidechain compressed the hell out of it and blended it together. But it's pretty quiet. But yeah, that's generally the technique I did with that. But the actual sound we're making is this pulse sound. So without further ado, let me make a new instance of Sylenth and drag the MIDI down real quick and mute this one. So the reason why I wanted to share this tutorial is Sylenth. A lot of sounds in Sylenth are very saw oriented, and there's some cool. I really like the pulse wave and the HPulse and HPulse. I think they offer some really cool alternatives to EDM and some modern sound design techniques. So let me make a new preset in Sylenth. Alright, so you can keep the polyphony on 3. Don't have to touch anything with that. And so as I said before, that we'll be using the pulse waveform. So in Oscillator A1, we're going to drag this so we get that pulse. And for the volume, you can leave that all the way up. Phase, you don't have to touch for this sound. The detune, we're going to add a little bit of detune, maybe just about 2 or somewhere close to there. Alright, let's turn the voices up to 5. And that is all we have to do for oscillator A. And now for the amp envelope A, let's just turn the release up a little bit so the sound kind of plays out a little more after each note. I'm going to drag this up to about 3. Alright, in oscillator A2, you can keep the octave and note where it is, but we're going to select this invert button. And we're going to change the waveform to an HPulse, which is just a slight different variation of the actual pulse that we have. And I'm going to turn the voices all the way up to 8 and leave retrig on. And for the phase and volume, you can leave those where they are. Detune, we're going to detune this one significantly up to about 5. So let's turn the volume up. Sorry about that. So that's just oscillator A2. It's kind of adding a little bit of the high-end kind of brightness to the sound, which is good. So that's all we have to do for the oscillators for part A. Part B, what we're going to do is we're going to use oscillator B1 as our noise oscillator. So I'm going to drag that all the way to the noise. I'm going to do 5 voices for the noise. And for the volume, I'm going to turn the volume down a ways so I don't have to touch the mix knobs, mix A and B. I would just rather do it over here in the volume. So I'm going to turn the volume down to about 3. Alright, and now for the amp envelope for B, we're going to make some changes to this to make the noise more responsive. So for the decay, I'm going to turn the decay up to 4.71 for this sound. I'm going to turn the sustain down to about 3, or maybe just a little bit above 3. And just add a little bit of release for the noise. So I want to keep the release less on the noise oscillator that we're using than on the actual oscillators making the sounds. So that's pretty much all we're going to do for that. Now let's go back to I'm sorry, in part B, I'm actually going to introduce a bandpass filter. So listen to what this does to the noise. So there's no filter, bandpass filter. I'm going to turn the cutoff so we get a little bit brighter noise to about 880. Or 840 should work. So now it's kind of like if any of you are massive users, it's kind of like changing it from a white noise to a bright noise. Resonance and drive, we're going to keep it exactly where it's at, and that is all we have to do for that. So now if I unsolo it, here's the sound. All right, and I turned up the volume a little bit on that. So going back to part A, what I'm going to do is I'm going to head down to the filter section, and I'm going to select the low pass filter. I'm going to turn the cutoff down to 104. And the resonance you can keep where it's at. The drive, we're going to turn the drive up to 2.76 or around there. All right, and in the master filter, filter control, I'm actually going to turn this down because my thinking is, again, sometimes you'll see me making these sounds and I kind of butcher it. Like it sounded cooler before I messed with the cutoff or turned on the low pass filter. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the MODENV1 to actually bring in the filter again. So I'm taming down the actual filtered part of the sound, and I want to control it more with the MODENV1. So I'm going to turn this cutoff filter for the filter control in the master section down to 13.62 hertz. So now, yeah, it's not even the same sound anymore. So to rectify that and fix that, I'm going to go to my MODENV1 slot, first slot, and select cutoff A, and I'm going to drag this to 7.9. All right, and now I'm going to turn up the decay to 4.2. And the sustain to 2.70 or around there. And then the release to about 1.6, 1.5, anywhere in there should do. So what that did is it actually opened up the filter. And I'm going to turn the sound down a little bit on that because it's getting loud. So now in our MODENV2, I'm going to select pitch A and B. And I'm going to select cutoff A and B. So now we'll be affecting the actual white noise with the MODENV. So I'm going to turn both of these up, crank them up to 10. And what we're going to do just for this, because we crank both of them up to 10, we're using the pitch. I am just going to bump the decay to about 0.23. All right, and now in the LFO section, I am going to apply the phase AB for this, and I'm going to turn the actual amount of that to about 5.05, and that should actually be good. And the rate, I'm going to turn the rate to a 1/1. So we'll do 1/1D for that. And the gain, I'm going to give it just a little bit of gain, maybe up to about 2. And now in the second LFO slot, I am going to activate the pitch A and B, and I'm going to bump this up to 0.57. So and then for the rate of this one, I'm going to select 2/1D for dotted, and then I'm going to turn the gain up a ways so we actually have some sound to about 2.7. And then I'm going to change this LFO type to a noise. It looks like the noise, but they actually call it random. So see, that's the noise symbol, and if I go to here, this is noise. So it looks like the noise, but the name for it in Sylenth is actually random. All right, and that covers all the envelope options that we have to do. And now I'm going to go to my effects. So I'm going to activate the distort module, and I'm going to select the clip. And the amount I am going to turn down a little bit to about 2.7 or anywhere in there. And I'm going to turn the dry wet down to about 35, 37-ish%. I I just turned up the cutoff a little bit now that we got the cutoff modulation set up. So now I'm going to activate the phaser as well to help thicken up this sound and make it a little bit more dense. So for the center frequency, the spread, the left-right offset, you can all keep that where it is, and same with the width. The LFO rate, I'm going to turn that down to 8/1 D for dotted, and I'm going to the LFO gain, turn that down to just about 0.86. I'm going to turn the feedback down to just a hair above 0%, so 0.48, and I'm going to turn the dry wet to about 20%. Alright, now I'm going to activate the coarse effect. This sound actually uses a lot of effects. The delay time, we're going to do 18.27 milliseconds. You can keep the rate where it is, and the depth should be at the 40%. And feedback, we're just going to do a hair above 0 again. And the width, we're going to keep where it is. Dry wet, let's turn that down a little bit. I think I had it around like 15%. You can play around with it depending on how much coarse you like. Alright, next is the EQ. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to boost a little bit of the treble frequency and the treble, not a whole lot there. And now for the delay, I just had a kind of general ping-ponging delay on, nothing special. And same with the reverb, I just use it to kind of fatten up the sounds. I'm going to crank the dry wet up a little, keep the pre-delay where it's at. I'm going to turn the size down to a little bit under 5. And now I'm just going to adjust the cutoff filters to kind of get closer to the original sound. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to layer that with this sound. And literally all I did was I duplicated this track, the sound that we just made. I changed the waves from the pulse to the saw wave, and you get that sound. And then I sidechained it pretty heavily. Alright guys, so that is the sound. If you have any questions or comments, let me know below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if you haven't checked out Sylenthtutorials.com, head on over there, where you got a good amount of tutorials up, some sound sets, things like that. Everything Sylenth. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.